And now, for fans of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers, this is Cheesehead TV Live.
Cheetahs don't stretch and neither do we.
I think you're an idiot. And I mean that with the most respect possible that I can give to an idiot.
Packers Hall of Fame quarterback Jay Coates.
Jay Coates. It's not as fun to say as equanimous.
That is a perfect example of a wrong opinion. Ring the bell. All right, welcome back, Packers fans. It is Cheesehead TV Live. It is game day, week 3, Packers and Broncos at Lambeau Field. Throwback weekend. It's the Milwaukee crowd. I am Jason Perone of Cheesehead TV, along with Jeremy VanDerLinden of Cheesehead TV. Brand new dad, Jeremy VanDerLinden of Cheesehead TV.
That is
Ladies
correct.
and gentlemen, he and his wife welcomed baby Harlan into the world this past Wednesday. So Finley's got a little baby sister.
That's right.
You sleeping? How you doing, man?
I'm a little tired today, but I'm doing good. I'm ready for the Packer game. I'm here.
All right,
I'm
so
here.
we've got another new little Packers fan in the world, which is exciting and beautiful as always. All right, so it is Throwback Sunday. It is the Milwaukee crowd. Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Packers, wanted the crowd to bring the energy and bring the noise. They seemed to do pretty well in week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings last week. This week, it's the Milwaukee crowd. Are they going to do the wave?
No. I think the trend will continue where Lambeau Field actually, shows up and supports the team for a football game.
You know, they keep showing highlights of Super Bowl 32 because it's Packers-Broncos. They hardly ever play each other. But back then, back in those days, back in my day, those crowds actually showed up and they were good. They were waving towels, and it was loud, and it was organic. Now, it's a little bit of a different world, but all right, so it's going to be an interesting one out there, Jeremy. So we'll start out with
inactives?
Okay, we'll go with the inactives, yes.
Right.
I was going to say the
let's
weather, but let's start do the inactives, yeah.
Okay.
No, let's go
so,
for it.
all right, for the Broncos, the inactives are River Caracraft, Bryce Callahan, Andy Janovich, Joe Jones, Alexander Johnson, Jawan James, and Mike Purcell, which Jawan James is a big deal. That is their starting right tackle. He is out. So for the Packers, the inactives are, big surprise, Jake Kummerow.
Oh, meltdown city in
Dexter
Green Bay.
Williams, Kadar Holman, Oren Burks, Cole Madison, Adam Pankey, and Montrevious Adams, which means Darius Shepard will be active today and will play the role of Touchdown Jesus.
Yeah. No one can replace Touchdown
That's
Jesus.
right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're right.
But he will be out there along with Tremont Smith, returning kicks. Darius Shepard may get some reps at wide receiver with no Trevor Davis. Trevor Davis is no longer a Packer. And Jake Kummerow being out. So weather-wise, it's going to be in the low 70s, which is not too bad, but it's supposed to be rainy all day, overcast and rainy. So that could change a lot of things about the game. You got a slippery ball. It's not going to be you can't throw it a bunch of times. I hope Joe Flacco tries to throw it a bunch of times. But this could be a big game for the running backs.
Yes.
Would you agree? Because the
Broncos
run the ball a lot, and the Packers, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams.
It's going to be a sloppy game. So, yeah, absolutely. It is going to be crucial. The Packers today did activate Kingsley Keke for his first game, which is great because everybody's been wanting to see him. He did so well in the preseason. It's going to be good to see him on the field. And Fidel Brown's still active, so they didn't swap one out for the other. They are playing both today, probably in preparation for this nasty weather and the run game. They're going to need to rotate in those big boys and keep everybody fresh. So, Jason, you want to get into this? Football game?
Man, roll with it. You got this.
Right.
You're on it today. Let's
do
go.
it.
Offensive keys.
Keys to the game.
Offense. Blitz. Rodgers steps away, in trouble, throws as he's hit, and it is a caught. It is touchdown. Adams. How did he catch that?
All right. Want to give a shout out to my other podcast partner and brother in crime, Jake Westendorf, Pulse of the Pack, who also welcomed his baby girl into this world. Also on Wednesday, fun fact, Jake's and Jeremy's babies were born 5 minutes apart.
It was crazy.
2 podcast buddies had babies today.
Well,
unbelievable.
Wednesday, this week.
Blake Westendorf, our newest Packers fan, is at home with mom and dad getting ready to take this game in, and Jake is obviously with us. He says, I look older. I just want you to know I'm as old as I've ever been and as young as I'll ever be. So thank you, Jake. All right, so on offense, it's going to be a little bit easier to do key number 1, control the clock. If they're going to run the ball, there's going to be a lot of running going on.
That's right.
Then we could see a lot of long drives that may or may not result in a lot of points. The Packers haven't scored a ton, but the Broncos also lead the league in time of possession. I think they're average drive is 8 plays or something like that, but they control the clock as well. So it's going to be this chess match of keep away, I think.
Yeah,
today.
yeah, absolutely. So actually, these are your words, but Jason called it death by 1,000 cuts. So that's going to be the Broncos offense. The Packers are going to have to match that today. They're going to need to keep the ball, and they're going to need to, for multiple reasons. They want to control the clock, and they want to run the ball down. But because that Broncos offense, they're not a team that's really going to rely on the pass game that much anyways. Like they're going to use the pass game, but they are a team that grinds it out, and they have 3 good backs. So the Packers are going to need to match that and stay on the field and keep the ball in their hands and keep the clock rolling. Let's see. So I got here in the notes, I put down Packers can get around the edge with their backs, but they can also get around the edge with the jet sweep. So look for MVS in motion today, possibly getting those jet sweep handoffs, or Darius Shepherd could also take some of those snaps. Don't be surprised. So look for those guys in motion. Maybe they run a little bit of that today, which is stuff we saw in the preseason and that everybody talked about in the offseason. Maybe they're running the ball with the receivers a little bit too and trying to get around those edges and trying to bust into open field, especially with Aaron Jones, who I looked this up and I thought it was really impressive. Aaron Jones is the 18th fastest ball carrier in the NFL, according to Next Gen Stats. He was like just over 20 miles an hour. So
wow,
that is pretty damn fast.
So Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, the 2 defensive ends for the Broncos, have yet to record a sack. So you might take advantage of them being a little bit more aggressive and trying to get after it and end that 0 or end the goose egg streak.
Yeah.
You can run on the Broncos defense, but they're getting a key piece back today. So inside linebacker Todd Davis will make his season debut. He's a big part of the defense. Didn't play in the first 2 games. He hurt himself in training camp, but he's going to be he's kind of like a solid presence back. It's like the Blake Martinez of their defense. So getting him back is going to be a big boost for them, especially on a kind of a sloppy day where there's going to be a lot of the Packers are going to try to run the ball more. I think that could be a big key. So
the Packers need to use their backs, use the receivers, keep the rotation balanced. They need to play anybody they can at running back because Matt LaFleur said it this week. He wants to make sure that he's rotating in Jamal Williams because they need Aaron Jones later in the season. They can't just grind it out with one guy, especially in a sloppy football game. They're going to need to rotate those guys in, and I think that's how they win the game on the ground. They're going to use the ground game a lot. So,
yeah, and if they do that effectively, then they're going to finally give the defense a little bit of a rest because you can ground and pound and all that kind of stuff, but if you're not converting first downs and you're not scoring points, the defense has to go out and hold all day long, which gets really tiresome and gets really, really old fast. I mean, the defense, by the middle of the season, end of the season, these guys could be really gassed if they're playing a ton of snaps, if the offense can't score a ton. So Green Bay scored 21 points to start the game last week. It doesn't matter how you score, and just put more points on the board than your opponent, but the way they did it last week did tax the defense. I mean, by the end of the game, those guys were really tired and gassed, it looked like.
So this might be inappropriate, but I have to mention it. Brandy in the chat, which, Brandy, thank you for being here for another show, says it's called clock blocking. The Packers need to clock block today to keep the ball away from the Broncos.
It's really funny when you say we want to keep the ball out of Joe Flacco's hands. But I think it's more about Green Bay controlling the tempo and setting their own pace, and it's not about keeping the ball away from Joe Flacco because he's not really scaring anybody.
Right.
And we've actually got some evidence of why you should not be that scared of Joe Flacco when we switch to the other side of the ball.
Yep.
But one thing that another key to it all is keeping Aaron Rodgers upright. So we talked about Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. They're going to be coming after it. So far this year, Jeremy, the tackles for the Packers, Brian Bulaga and David Bakhtiari, have done a phenomenal job of keeping the pass rush at bay. Aaron Rodgers has gotten sacked and he's seen pressure, but nowhere near as bad as it could have been when you consider the fact that you've got Leonard Floyd, Khalil Mack in week 1. Last week it's Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, and the rest of the Vikings Purple People Eater guys from this season. And now today they get another solid tandem. I mean, there's just a murderer's row of pass rushers that have been coming in here. But Brian Bulaga has done a fantastic job so far this season. This is a guy that a lot of people thought maybe wouldn't be on the roster, hoped wouldn't be on the roster. Don't know what the future holds after this season, but if these first 2 games are any indication, and if he has another good game today, you're going to probably see a lot of people flipping course and changing course. But I think we've got some video.
We do.
To show everybody, because nobody gives any love to the offensive line. So we've got some video to show you of Brian Bulaga, and just take a look at the fantastic job that he has done so far in these first couple games, because he's in his, 10th season? It's not a given that he's gonna ball out all the time, and
right.
Age eventually catches up with everyone. He's got 2 ACL injuries, but Brian Bulaga looks good. We got the video ready?
Yep, ready
all
to
right.
go.
Brian Bulaga, Iowa. Man, he gets out of his stance pretty quickly there.
He does.
We've talked about in week 1 where Billy Hunter had some Turner. Why do I keep saying Hunter?
Billy Turner, I don't know. Hunter.
Maybe Billy Hunter was there. Billy Turner was kind of slow getting out of his stance. Brian Bulaga, for a guy that's getting up there in football age and has had 2 ACLs, he gets out of his stance. Yeah,
here's the thing with Brian Bulaga that I like. The guy is very strong. He anchors really well. One of the parts of that clip, you see him kind of recover and get his butt back up under himself and totally stop Hunter in his tracks. And that's the thing Brian Bulaga's consistent at. Even when he's beaten, he's strong enough to get in front of it and get his butt back under himself and kind of get that leverage back on the guy rushing. So he does that all the time, and he's doing it right now against some of the best pass rushers in the league. So Brian Bulaga playing fantastic football, and actually this is that video was cut by Brandon Thorne, so thank you so much for that. And his tweet said, Brian Bulaga is off to a great start this season, especially when considering he's primarily faced offense versus 2 elite edge rushers in Mack and Hunter. And here's the thing, the next tweet that he put out, they have an intense group of guys that go against in the first 5 weeks. So it was Mack and Hunter, now Von Miller, Graham in week 4 with the Eagles, and then D-Law with the Cowboys in week 5. So Brian Bulaga is going to have to continue to play at this level, and I think he can. He has been. There's no reason to say that he won't. And the other thing that I wanted to mention here is this quote from David Bakhtiari. When he was looking at the list of guys that we're going to have to go up against, this is what he said. He's like, it kind of sucks. I would like to have had a good little warm-up to get into the season. I'm not disrespecting any other rushers in the league, but let's call a spade a spade. Not everyone is as good as the other person. We've got 32 teams, 31 excluding us. It's a gauntlet. I think the last time I faced this much quality rushers early in the year, it might have been 2013 coming right out the gate, but it's exciting. Brian and I know what we're capable of, and it's fun to always go against quality rushers and be able to show what we can do. So those guys are confident. They know what they can do, and they're facing off against some of the best pass rushers in the league and still able to shut it down. And Brian Bulaga, in his old age, still looking pretty damn good.
Old. You're asking me. I mean, the senior member of the team somehow?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Old.
None of this is just for men. I just want everyone to know that. Okay? It's all natural, all real. So offensively, the other thing, one thing we have not talked about is the obvious, the quarterback.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers is I still don't know what to make of his grasp or understanding of this offense. One thing I can tell you is that I think he's been a combination of new offense and old habits. Because Aaron Rodgers is always going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's going to continue to do what he does. He's going to dance around. His footwork's not always going to be great at times. He's going to make some really phenomenal throws. He's also going to frustrate the hell out of us by throwing the ball away and passing up plays that later when we look at the film appear to be wide open, and all that kind of stuff is very frustrating. But he's still Aaron Rodgers. And against the Denver Broncos and a home game here, there's little mental things that happen that give you a little bit of an edge. I talked about how, when we get to the defensive side of the ball, one thing I talked about on Pack-A-Day earlier this week was the mental edge that this Packers defense is going to start to get once they roll on and they gain this reputation for being really stingy and tight. Aaron Rodgers is still in the heads of opposing defenders. So the Broncos are unfamiliar with them. It's an unfamiliar, territory. They're 0-2. They really probably should have won last week. They're probably going to come out a little bit upset. And I think the weather and the fact that Rodgers probably can't come out chucking it a ton, because I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit damp out there, might favor Denver, not in the sense that I think that they'll jump out and overtake Green Bay. They could. Any turnovers happen, that could be bad. But it slows things down a little bit, and you're not probably looking at a 21-0 deficit early. I don't know what your take is on that. Rodgers' progression as he learns the offense.
I think that we're going to get a little bit more of what we saw in the first quarter last week, we're going to get a little bit more of that. Now, I don't know if they're going to come out and bust out 21 points immediately, but I think it's going to spread out a little more. It's going to be a little even throughout the game. Rodgers is getting more comfortable. He is getting better in the offense. He does need to get rid of the ball sooner. He does need to stop looking at the rush. That's still things he's struggling with. But I think that they took a lot off of his plate, putting the wristband on his wrist. He doesn't have as much to think about on game day. He's not thinking about the plays as they're called in. He's looking at a number on his wrist. Coach says 12, and he looks at number 12 on the list, and he tells the team what it is. It's not as much memory right now for him as much as it's action, and that's great. So the more they can speed the game up for him mentally, the better. He's Aaron freaking Rodgers. He's a genius. The dude can handle it. He needs to get some of his crap straight, and he's going to get better week in and week out. They're going to start to get that stuff figured out.
I think so. I mean, they're facing some tough teams right out of the gate. One thing I'd like to see Rodgers do more of is settle into the pocket. You wouldn't think you'd have to tell a 15, 16-year vet, especially one that's, a future Hall of Famer, to do that. But he's got to settle into the pocket and you've got a great offensive line there. I mean, Elton Jenkins is making his debut as a starter, and I'm here to tell you right now, Elton Jenkins is your starting left guard for the Packers until he doesn't play anymore or he gets hurt.
Right.
Lane Taylor went on injured reserve. So Elton Jenkins is your left guard. So he's the newest member of this tandem. But these guys have played together for a long time. You've got Corey Linsley, the two tackles, and then the guards are new. So Elton Jenkins is new, and then Billy Hunter. Roll with it. Billy Hunter's brand new right guard.
I swear it's because we talked about Hunter from the Vikings.
No, it's not.
Something is happening in your brain.
Ask anybody in the chat. I've said Billy Hunter at least once a show. It's really pathetic.
You can't get rid of it. Huh?
Yeah, I can't. So I'm just going to own it. Billy Hunter.
Right.
So
that's all right. You know how long Bukowski called Jay Sternberger and still struggles to call him Sternberger.
It happens. Yeah, I mean so the run game and that interior, but Rodgers has to trust what's going on in the pocket, be able to climb it. He doesn't climb the pocket very well, he dances around, holds onto the ball, and that's where you end up taking sacks. I think Rodgers is happy to take a sack rather than turn the ball over. Yeah. Maybe long run, that's okay. You're not turning the ball over, but you're not gaining yardage, and you're putting your punter in a tough spot. And then on a day like today when the weather might not be as great, maybe give J.K. Scott a little bit of chance. Don't have him punting out of his own end zone. The Packers get backed up, and in recent years that has not fared well for them, where they were able to march down the field and mitigate some of that backup.
Yeah,
they don't always do it. So that's something that I think that that Rodgers can help his offense out with. But the offense has to try to help out the defense. Shall we move over to the defensive side of the ball?
Let's recap the offensive keys real quick. Control the clock, which Brandy's words, clock block the Broncos, give the defense a day off, which I didn't talk about this because I got distracted by Brandy. Thank you very much. They need to give the defense a day off. They were very worn out. Blake Martinez last week sitting on the ground telling guys to give him a minute to rest at the end of that game, and them ending the game on fumes. They need to get it in order because hey, they play on Thursday, 4 days from now. The defense needs a break today. The offense needs to do that. Keep 12 clean. They got to keep 12 upright in the pocket. And then, obviously, Aaron Rodgers needs to start making some of those plays we're used to seeing. He needs to start showing that he's comfortable in this offense. It's time for that to happen, and it's time for that to be the norm. So, on to defense.
Keys to the game. Defense.
They bring everybody. Allen trying to get out of trouble. Allen chucks it downfield. Intercepted. Allen has it picked off. Jair Alexander is brought down, and the Bills come up empty.
Okay, so we talked about the Denver running attack. They've got two really good running backs, Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman. They also have Devontae Booker, so they have a good three-headed rotation there. They're the 7th-rated rushing team according to Pro Football Focus. Passing-wise, they come in at 16th, but stop the run. Stop the run's got to be the first key there. I mean, both teams are going to try to establish the run. So if the Packers make it tough, then that would be a good thing for the defense and help them get off the field. Will Kingsley Keke rotate in and be a big factor? I'm not quite sure. I don't know what the scoop is, but I know one guy that's going to start and play a lot, which is Kenny Clark. And we've got some really good video on him a little bit later.
We do, absolutely. Kenny Clark's going to play his role, but Dean Lowry too. And actually, I didn't play any of this, but Dean Lowry played a really good game against the Vikings, and I think there was some of that was against the Bears too, where he does a fantastic job not getting too anxious about getting to the quarterback and kind of playing his role and letting things come to him. So he beats the guy blocking him, and he gets upfield and just kind of waits it out to see which way the ball's actually going to go, and then he makes a play. And he's been great at that. So those guys are crucial. I do think Kiki's going to play because I think that him being in today, him and Brown being in today, it's all about the rotation. They're going to rotate those guys a lot in the rain with the running game. The Broncos are going to run the ball with Philip Lindsay, Royce Freeman. They also have Devontae Booker. So they have a good set of backs that they're absolutely going to use today, and the Packers are going to need to be able to step up and shut that down. They've done a great job anchoring the edges this season, and that's, that has everything to do with the addition of the Smiths. They're locking that down really well. Now it's time for them to lock down the middle too. And with Kenny Clark, there's no reason you can't. And Blake Martinez as well. Those guys can get it shut down, and they're going to have to today.
Tackle well.
Tackle
Because then Dalvin Cook's not out there today.
That's right.
But these backs are it takes this one missed tackle and one cut and they're gone. All right, so
Wes
on the
Craven
back,
says real quick, he says, catch the interceptions. I like that, Keith. Absolutely. Please catch the interceptions.
So on the back end of things, airtight coverage. So if the secondary can continue to blanket receivers and make it difficult to throw, which, again, the Denver quarterback will help that cause because of who he is, then the pass rush can potentially get home. Those are kind of a 1-2 punch there, nice domino falls, and then you start getting pressure on the quarterback and making it difficult. Long down and distance, you make Flacco have to throw. Hopefully the Packers secondary is up to the task today. Kevin King had a big pick last week, only his second career interception, but it came at a very, very opportune time. So he's got a little bit extra juice coming in. Jair Alexander's looking to make a case for himself this year as a Pro Bowler. He said he wanted to be an All-Pro. Okay, well, earn your money. Emmanuel Sanders will be out there today at receiver. Cortland Sutton's going to play for the Denver Broncos. So cover those guys. Let me
give you some numbers here. According to Pro Football Focus, the Packers are fifth in pressure, fifth in the league in pressure. So that's not a ranking. That's their rating. They give Pro Football Focus gives them their rating, and they've rated the Packers as fifth for pass rush. They're also ranked fifth in coverage. So the Packers are doing really well in both coverage and pass rush. This group of defensive backs is a big part of the success of this defense. It's not just those big boys up front. It's not just the Smiths. It's those guys in the defensive backfield. They're playing really well. And so that needs to continue today to give that pass rush a chance. Flacco gets rid of the ball really quickly. So they're going to need to lock guys up and keep it locked up tight so that he has to stand in the pocket with the football and give those guys a chance to get home.
Well, and get home and create pressure and get inside of Flacco's head, because he does some weird stuff with the ball when he's got a lot of pressure on him. In fact, we've got a little entertainment here for all of you. We've got a video here of what Joe Flacco sometimes is capable of.
Now, this is from Aaron Nagler, and I actually put the tweet in the video so you can see that. It's just the same play looped over and over, but it's beautiful Joe Flacco action on a screen pass, a ball he absolutely should not have thrown.
So there's Flacco dropping back to throw.
Yep, apparently no sound.
Play action.
My audio is gone.
And throws it at the back of the pulling guard.
What are you doing? You can't throw it in that group of people, and that's just Joe Flacco, and that's what you can expect today.
At the H-back who's being
that's right
clobbered by two Bears defenders.
Yeah.
So that's Joe Flacco there. But he still is, at one time in his life, was a Super Bowl winning quarterback because his defense bailed him out in the Super Bowl. So let's not take him too lightly. That's all I want to say. I'm just trying to throw out there some good vibes to the football gods so that they know that we're not just we're not going to get stuck by Murphy's Law. So defensively, pressure from the edges because Juwan James is out there, high-priced right tackle. He got hurt in week 1, didn't play last week, won't play this week. So there's going to be a backup right tackle. And then on the left side, you've got Garrett Bowles. Garrett Bowles is just getting pounded by the media and even by his coaches and teammates who have said, look, this guy's got to improve. He's got 5 holding calls already. This is a former first-round pick who's really struggling to contain some of these really elite pass rushers. And today, I hope he's an alternative fan because he's getting the Smiths.
Yeah.
Are they alternative? Rock? What is their genre?
Dude, I don't know.
He's getting the Smiths today.
You're going to have to ask Nagler. That is not my thing.
He's getting the Smiths today, so he's not going to get any kind of a break there. My hope is that his struggles continue. That would be a good thing for the Packers defense and also a good thing for all around because they get to Flacco, they get sacks, they get pressure, and the Broncos can't move the football.
Yeah. So real quick, I'll give you a couple more numbers. So the Broncos are leading the league. Or no, they're tied for third with 7, right? Did you say that already? So they're tied for third with 7 holding calls.
Second, really. Tied for second.
Tied for second. Okay. So Bowles has 5 holding calls in 2 weeks of play. He's got 1 against the Raiders and 4 against Khalil Mack. Now, yes, it's Khalil Mack, right? He's going to get some hold calls against Khalil Mack. But guess what? The Smiths aren't bad. I mean, we're not talking about a huge drop-off. These 2 dudes are going to make trouble, especially with the way that they like to run stunts on the edges. They like to run those stunts, but they're not going to have any help for the tackles today, with the interior having to deal with Kenny Clark and the double mug fronts that Mike Pettin likes to use, where he brings 2 defenders into the A gap and forces the offensive line to figure out who's actually coming. And those guys are going to drop out, but a lot of the time you will see 2 guys standing in the A gaps. And that offensive line is going to have to figure that out. That's going to leave those tackles out on islands. There's going to be some hold calls for the Broncos today. They're going to struggle against this pass rush.
Sounds good. I got bad news for them, too, because that was just the Smiths that we talked about.
Yeah.
So there's this guy on the Packers defense that we all know and love very well. He wears number 97. His name is Kenny Clark.
That's right.
Kenny Clark is, according to your notes here, a machine. Has anybody checked to see if he's – what his RAM is in there, his bitware. So am I reading this correctly? Jeremy did some great research on this whole thing. And again, for those of you who arrived a little bit later, Jeremy and his wife welcomed their second child just this past Wednesday, and he is here.
That's right.
For all of you and me doing the show
last
today.
Night. Still here.
Just got home from the hospital last night, and here he is.
That's right.
Going on fumes. But he still did some great work and some great research on Kenny. 13 pressures in 2 games?
13,
is that correct?
13 pressures in 2 games. What is the – okay, so let's see. I wrote it here. So he's got 13 pressures in 2 games, and just to make a comparison, his efficiency is impressive. Just to make this comparison, he's got 13 and Von Miller has 2. So Von Miller has 2 pressures. Kenny Clark has 13 freaking pressures in 2 weeks. He's gotten so good on third down that the Packers have increased his snaps on third down. These are the percentages from his first season in 2016 to now. In the first season that he played, he had 13% on third downs that he was on the field. In the second season, it went up to 44.5. His third season, 68%. Now, this current season, he's played 78.6%.
Why would you pull him off the field? Why would you ever take him off the field?
Only to give him a break. Dude needs to breathe eventually, right? So it's Kenny Clark is an absolute machine, and the Packers have unleashed him. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter how many guys you rush because Kenny Clark is going to make trouble. So I got a clip here. I got this from Ben Fennell. Ben Fennell does great work. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. Kenny Clark absolutely destroying the Vikings. That first play is a 3-man rush, and it doesn't freaking matter. Kenny Clark's got it taken care of.
So disruptive. He's so disruptive.
Yeah. So you let Kenny Clark do his thing. Those guys on the edge, they're absolutely going to do their thing. And that offensive line for the Broncos today, they're not going to get a break. This is going to be a tough game for an offensive line that's banged up and struggling. The right tackle's out. Their left tackle's struggling with hold calls. The Broncos are going to struggle today with this defensive front the Packers are bringing. This is a whole new Packers defense, and it's for real.
Yeah,
it is for real.
So you got some other notes here too. So still opposing quarterbacks 0 for 6 with 2 picks in the red zone, a 0 quarterback rating. So once you get into the red zone, you might as well just bring out your kicking team and try to kick 3. Otherwise, you're not going to get any points against. That's eventually going to stop. I mean, someone's going to eventually throw a touchdown or they're going to make a play. It'll probably be Flacco today because the old Packers used to love to let teams fix what ailed them.
Yep.
But this is a new regime, so we're not going to go there, which I just did. But on third down, too, the Packers are 6th, only allowing 25% conversion on third down and 44.5 quarterback rating, which is ranked for 5th. So the Packers are tightening up. It's kind of like another team I'm not going to mention does on defense where they'll give up your chunk yards. But once you get into that scoring range, the 30 and in,
Right.
Nothing's
Clutch
happening.
Moments for the Packers where they're tightening it up.
Yeah,
it's third down and it's in the red zone. They are shutting teams down. It's been fantastic. It's such a breath of fresh air. It's so nice to see the Packers playing that way. When it comes to a big moment for the other team, the Packers defense is showing up consistently, and that's great. Here's the other thing. This is an interesting note. So the defense has allowed 9.5 points per game this season so far. Jake Morley tweeted, in the last 6 meetings against a Vic Fangio-led defense, the Packers have averaged 358.1 yards, 26.3 points. So if the defense is averaging 9.5 and the offense averages 26.3 34.3 against Vic Fangio defenses.
And I'm confident that my 6-year-old would be able to figure out this equation. That bodes well for the Packers.
That bodes really well for the Packers. They should win this football game.
They absolutely should. So should we go into our predictions? You're going to lead it off today, new dad.
You know what? Let's hold off because the chat has been talking and we have so many people in the chat that show up week in and week out. They watch the show. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and send those to us. If you have anything you want to talk about, now is a good time for that. We have a few minutes here before we sign off and get to the game. So Kenny Clark, I'm so excited to see what Kenny Clark does today for this defense against the Broncos offense. I'm excited to see them tear up that Broncos offensive line. It's going to be consistent to what we've seen. This
fast
team
start, man. Yeah. I want another fast start. Get up at least a couple scores. 10-0, 14-0 would be a really nice way to kick this thing off.
Jordan Rivera asks if we're going to stream the game here on YouTube. No, because that would be illegal, and they would shut us down. So
Benarac says, why only 2 likes? I think we have more than that.
We have 21 now. If you're in the chat and you're enjoying the show, hit those likes. If you enjoy the video that we've added to the show in the last 2 weeks, hit that like button. Hit that like button. We love doing this with you guys. It's a lot of fun doing the pregame show. And, hey, the Watershed is filling up. It's getting busy down here in Tempe, Arizona. Watershed, give us a shout. Go, Pack, go. We got the Watersheds filling up today. Huge crowd every week. It's been nuts. So if you're in the Arizona area, if you're near Tempe, come on down to the Watershed, and you can see us sitting here yelling about the Packers. Jason and I standing on stage screaming at a TV. That's right.
We used to be 2 idiots and a microphone, and now we're 2 idiots and 2 microphones.
Is that a Jeff Janis jersey? No, it is not. It's a 23 jersey, so that's Jair Alexander. So no Jeff Janis. Now, at least maybe there's one here in the bar. You never know. I do see a Brooks jersey, Rodgers, plenty of Rodgers always in the bar. There's a Devontae Adams jersey over there. We have a Broncos jersey sitting right in front of us. That's unfortunate for him.
Hey, we welcome all comers.
Yeah, it's true.
It's been okay so far through a couple weeks.
So who has a better game today, Lindsey or Jones? So Philip Lindsay or Aaron Jones, who has a better game?
I don't know. I think these are 2 good defenses, but if you had to go with the way the first 2 weeks have gone, I think Aaron Jones probably is going to outdo if it's just by yardage.
Mike Witt says his prediction, Alexander gets a pick 6. I'll take it. I will take it. It's at some point he's going to catch the ball, right? Like he's in position for the opportunity. He's gonna take advantage. He's got to
make up for a little bit last week. He struggled. He made a couple plays and did well, but he struggled at the touchdown to Diggs. Situationally, there maybe you trust the way you want to play the game, and if you're better off going for the pick and that's your style, it's kind of like asking a pitcher to change his motion. I wouldn't tinker with that necessarily. Yeah. But maybe just knock the ball down. You stick your hand in there, because at that point, if you catch the ball, you're at the 20, but I don't know. I think that was third down. Was it third down?
I don't know. I don't remember. I'm in the chat. I got busy. Somebody asked.
Hindsight is 20/20, and so it's easy to say now. But I think hopefully Jair go for the safe play. Go for the safe play. Just knock the ball down, because your boys are going to come up big if it's the next play. If that's first down, second down, third down, they'll shut it down. Yeah. Just end the play.
So I got 2 more questions, and then we're gonna move on to our predictions. Both of them pass rush questions, so I'll do them together. How many sacks does the defense have today? That's from Paul Freeman. And James Hedges asks, does Gary have a sack today?
I don't know about Gary. I think they'll get 3.
Okay. I'm going to go with 4. And I'm going to say yes. Gary's going to get one. He's playing really well, and they are giving him the opportunity to do so. He will come free. He will get a sack. Joe Flacco's not very fast. So he's not as fast as Kirk Cousins, and he's not as fast as Mitch Trubisky.
If Joe Flacco gets free and the defense spreads out and somehow the middle of the defense is open and he runs for any more than 5 yards,
something bad
I am going
happened.
to melt down.
Right. Something terrible happened if that's the way that it goes. So, yeah, Daniel agrees with me. He thinks it's 4. Thank you. I think it will be 4. They're going to have a big day. This
Kevin
offensive
asks
line
if Aaron Rodgers will hold on to the ball too long still. Yes, he will. At some
point,
have moments, at least once or twice today, he will hold on to the ball too long, because that's what happens at least once or twice a game. But you know what? That's been happening for a long time. The Packers have still won a lot of games, so I'm not worried about it.
Okay, so predictions. I'll give my prediction here. Yep. I think Packers win big today. It's going to be a big day for the team, because that defense is going to continue to make a mess of things for the opposing offenses. That's going to happen today for the Broncos. Packers win 28-10.
So I've got the Broncos scoring late to make the score look a lot closer than it should be, and the Packers like to let the drama creep in at the end there and do their thing. So I say it's going to be 24-17, but I think the Packers will get up early, and they might maybe let off a little bit let Denver might score late, but I don't think they're going to have enough time to do enough damage or tie it up. It's just a tough game on the road, and the Packers have to get out of this game healthy because they turn around and play in 4 days against the Philadelphia Eagles, too.
Yes.
Let's keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Got to get out healthy. All right, guys, thanks for joining us in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to Cheesehead TV. You can follow us on Twitter. You see that right there in the video. Make sure you jump on all of our social media and connect with us. We'd love to connect with you. And go Pack, go. Jason, you got anything to say?
That's it. Go Pack, go.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Cheesehead TV Live. Check out cheeseheadtv.com for more great Packers content.